Let's hear a little more from Sean Payton about what comes next for the Saints, because everyone's going to think Dennis Allen, former Raiders coach, who's finally gotten a sniff this year, interviewed coincidentally today with the Bears. Here's Payton slipping in an endorsement for Dennis Allen to be the next coach of the Saints.
Look, in fairness to Dennis, who's a great candidate in the building, or any other coach that possibly would be hired, I think that there's no half in this game. You know, you're jumping in the deep end and you're swimming. And if you elect to stay out, then that's fine. But I think that, I think that that's the approach that I think has to be taken.
I got a chance to do the job on the job this year, the game at Tampa Bay, the Sunday night game, which the Saints won 9-0. Dennis Allen ran the defense and replaced Sean Payton, who was on the COVID reserve list for that game. So I think Allen makes the most sense, and it would ensure the smoothest possible transition by doing it now. And I know he needed time to think it through. I'm not suggesting he deliberately sandbagged. Not at all. Not at all. It'd be different if he would have made his decision in late February. He took a couple of weeks to decide on what he wanted to do and figure out what's right for him, and he needed to do that. But the fact that we're 2 weeks into this process, I think it gives Dennis Allen a bit of a leg up going in because the Saints haven't been spending the last 2 weeks, Charean, interviewing candidates, figuring things out. I don't know, maybe they had an inkling and they've been working in that direction, but I think Allen gets a real advantage given the timing of this.
Yeah, and they will have to comply with the Rooney Rule, obviously. I would expect Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, who was at New Orleans for a long time as the secondary coach and then followed Dan Campbell to Detroit, to get an interview. I would expect him to be one. Offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael probably would be another candidate. Maybe you look at somebody like a Kellen Moore, a young guy like that, to potentially come and replace Sean Payton. But Dennis Allen does make the most sense. He has head coaching experience. He was the interim coach this year. I am a huge Dennis Allen fan. He's another Aggie great, but he went to high school here, and I've done a story talking to his family and his mom and everyone else, and I just think he's a great guy and would be a great replacement for Sean Payton and would fit right in. Now, having said all that, if I have other options, this to me looks like one of the least desirable jobs just because of their cap situation and the lack of a quarterback there. But he does know that defense and thinks he can win with that defense. I get that. And you're perhaps playing in a division that doesn't have Tom Brady. So it's going to be an easier division to win if Tom Brady isn't there next year. So maybe you look at those things too. But just from the quarterback standpoint, Mike, not having that franchise guy, and the fact that they are so much in the hole in the salary cap, $50 million right now over the salary cap, it's just a tough situation to try to rebuild.
Mickey Loomis has done a great job of managing the cap over the years, but a lot of it has resulted from kicking the can into future years, and at some point that bill becomes due. Now, there's value in always kicking money forward because it doesn't inflate. There's no interest that attaches to it. A dollar that is moved forward to next year is still a dollar. As the cap goes up, that dollar means a little bit less. So they'll do the same thing. They'll kick money into next year or the year after that. The cap is going to go up this year. It's going to go up even more next year. It's going to go up even more the year after that. They'll figure it all out. The real issue is quarterback and what were they going to do. And you know what, Charean? I was in the process of trying to figure out the teams that Aaron Rodgers may want to play for, and the Saints were on the list. I don't think they make it back on the list now, but the Saints were one of the possibilities for Aaron Rodgers when Sean Payton was there. I remember last year the Saints were one of the teams that was on Russell Wilson's short list of franchises to which he'd accept a trade if the Seahawks were to trade him, but of course he didn't want to be traded. Wink, wink, nod, nod. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, this isn't an ideal year to be looking for a coach because now there are 9 teams looking for coaches. But at least the Saints don't have to worry about the fact that all the good ones are taken. None of them have been taken yet. So if they work quickly, maybe they can get themselves in the loop for one of these gigs that is – and I don't get the impression they're all that far behind the Raiders. Do you? I feel like the Raiders haven't done anything.
Well, the Texans haven't done much either, but who knows what they're going to do. Josh McCown may be the choice there, as we all know. I don't feel like they've done much either.
I mentioned Drew Brees earlier as it relates to the comparisons to Aaron Rodgers. Here's Sean Payton from earlier today talking about how he let Drew know about the decision and confirming that indeed there was a phone call made to Drew about returning and playing on the week that both Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill were going to be unavailable to the Saints in advance of the Monday night game against the Dolphins.
We took a chance on Drew at that time because, quite honestly, we weren't going to win any jump balls. And that's the truth. Like, in other words, we had to be a little overly aggressive to win the game, if you will. The status quo and so, man, it was the best chance we took. And so I thank Drew and his wife Brittany and their family. I spoke to him at length last night about this decision for the first time, and he was fantastic. And I did call him during this season, and we discussed him coming back. And I think both of us agreed, based on our lineup versus Miami, it was a good thing he stayed and didn't come.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been the ideal game to come out of retirement for the way that went, the way that the Miami Dolphins harassed the New Orleans Saints offensive line. And, frankly, Brian Flores is available, and the Saints got to see what Flores can do with coaching a football team, although there's an asterisk on that game given that the COVID situation really decimated the roster. But Sean Payton acknowledging that Drew Brees was called and that Drew Brees declined. It was probably smart for him to do it, as tempting Charean as it would have been.
Yeah, it certainly was. You saw what Ian Book took in that game in his first start, and it didn't go well. And I don't know, it would have gone better for Drew Brees, but God, the way they harassed him and the offensive line as decimated as it was, it wouldn't have gone real great for Drew Brees either, I don't think. So probably good he stayed in retirement. Now the Saints will be on the search for that quarterback yet again to replace Drew Brees. They thought they might have it in Jameis Winston last year, and then he had the ACL injury, and maybe they bring back Jameis. Who knows? But they'll have to find a quarterback. As you said, it's probably not a real great year to be looking for a coach. It's probably not a real great year to be looking for a quarterback either.
They can't make Jameis plan A because he's not going to be ready when this quarterback carousel starts to spin. And remember this, the coaching carousel will have stopped or slowed down dramatically, and then we get to the quarterback carousel. And Sunday, the Rams-49ers NFC Championship game, and the other one too, between the Bengals and the Chiefs, but that day is the one-year anniversary of the unofficial trade of Matthew Stafford to the Rams. The quarterback carousel was spinning in high gear late January last year. Now, everything ended a week earlier, but still, that quarterback musical chairs is coming, and the problem is Jameis Winston isn't going to be ready by the time the seats are filled. So that's just another one of the questions the Saints are going to have to ask, because Taysom Hill, that was a Sean Payton pet project. Is Taysom Hill still going to have a place with the Saints? Is he going to play quarterback with the Saints? One of the many questions that the franchise is going to have to ask as the next days and weeks go by.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.